All right. Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Welcome back to the Wake Up Call. Our guest is already in studio. If you know what I mean these days, when we say in studio, it means online already. And we will begin the interview in just a minute or so. Before we get to that, cheers to 42 years, Vinci Strong, Hiring Strong with four beastly cold Hiring for $10. Yes, it is back again for a limited time. Purchase your Hiring 4 for 10 at participating locations nationwide. Celebrate our own this independence with Hirun. Must be 18 or older. Please drink responsibly. Also, the firm of Frank B. Armstrong St. Vincent Limited will discontinue its walk in customer service until further notice. Please call telephone numbers 456-4002 and 533-0932 or email the firm at info@fbasvg.com for assistance. The firm regrets any inconveniences that the decision may cause and look forward to you using our other communication platforms to continue doing business with us. All right, so good morning to Akel. Good morning, Akel. She is the owner and operator at Baptiste and Company Law Firm Inc. Former minister of at the Ministry of Urban Development, Culture, Labor and Electoral Matters. Former elected member of Parliament in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Former Minister of Tourism and Culture. Former manager or corporate secretary at St. Vincent Trust Authority. She also celebrated 45 years as a lawyer on October 22nd, 2021. She's also known as Mama Culture. Good morning to Honorable Rene Baptiste. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh,
Good morning.
it's lovely to have you on the inside. It's a pleasure.
Oh, I'm delighted to accept this invitation, and I hope that we'll all enjoy the program.
Yes, definitely. I think it's going to be a very interesting one. It's not your first time in the studios of Extreme FM, not your first time here on the station. Yes, but I think it's the first time I'm getting to interact with you here. So I'm really excited about
When
that.
you were on stage.
Yes. Other than that, yes, indeed. So I think we can start off going back a bit, as we spoke about before, prior to this morning. I want to touch on what it was like in 1979, leading up to Independence Day, what it was like on Independence Day, and I would really love for you to shed some light on that. So we're gonna go back as far as possible, perhaps when the country started talking about gaining independence. What was it like?
I think it was earlier in that, either late 78, yes, early 79, when the talk was very, very strong in the air.
Hmm.
And as usual, everybody, you start off with a great sense of unity of purpose. You want to go through this. Yes, you think that we're ready for it. And then you have the political ism and upism. Then
Hmm.
one side will say, no, I'm not going for that. That we stay where we are. And then you had the intellectual class who thought that the constitutional provisions that were being laid out and set out were not in concert with their forward and progressive thinking. And so then they will break up, something we don't seem to be able to do too. Where we always start out on the same level, same everything, and then
Hmm.
the differences will emerge, and the differences did not get cured by the time we got there. However, a momentous occasion took place in April of that year, Good Friday morning,
Hmm.
13th of April. That's prayer erupted. And where I live at Kingston Park, you just had to go out in the front and look up towards Mount St. Andrew, and you see these huge clouds. And my smaller nieces and nephews who were living with us here at Kingston Park said, pretty.
Oh, dear.
It was just simply pretty to the children.
Hmm.
Beautiful mushroom cloud. And then by midday, those persons who went to service, 7 o'clock, they said that their friends, somebody told them that ash falling in Barbados. Then the premier came on radio to say Laughter Frere was erupting. Immediately, NBC Radio started to play some beautiful songs, hymns, immediately. When switched from I think it was reggae they were playing at the time, and they switched to hymns, and they went into what we would now call battle mode. Cadets were called out, police, everybody there. By, I think, 1 o'clock, we had relatives who appeared at our door and say, you come down from Sandy Bay, Sufre erupting, it was really going bad. Then at 12, there was a blast that would shake you. And Georgetown was dark, some folks said. But Georgetown was dark because, of course, the ash fall was so heavy. Then myself, I proceeded to the hospital and asked, what can I do to help? I said, well, they have to turn the schools into what they call them evacuation camps. That's what they referred to them at that time. And I said, well, I can drive, I have my car, let me help to do something. And so I volunteered. My mother was with the Red Cross at the time, and she said, well, you can volunteer under the Red Cross, which I did. Dr. Liverpool was the director at the time, dentist, and he then came to my office to use the telex machine because that's the quickest way of sending communications to the British Red Cross. And so the messages started going overseas to the different international organizations. It was a very traumatic experience, because we were living through this eruption of La Soufrière. It was because we had a little twinkle in 71 when it also came up with that dome in the center and just quieted back down in 71. But this was it. And it was quite a traumatic experience.
Much like 2021, 42 years later. It's quite interesting that we're having this discussion during a year when we also had an eruption. Yeah.
But there was something very strange because I remember we were able to go outside and pick up stones from the roof of our patio because I'm sitting in the patio and pick up stones. This time I didn't get stones, but a lot of ash. And some friends brought me some dust that smelled like sulfur a couple of days later. And I recall when you're driving past City Joshua Airport, there was a helicopter that was coming in and everybody was crowded up to see what's going on with the helicopter. And apparently got caught going up in some of the mountains because we have some mountain areas, some mountain ranges where it would appear as though it's trees and still you go a little deeper and it's not quite that. So you have to fly quite high. And then the warships came in about a month or so later, bringing galvanized, because I remember distinctly typing the telex to the British Red Cross, listing the materials that we would need to build back. And I never forgot that there were 40,000 sheets of galvanized. That always stuck in my head somehow.
40,000 sheets.
40,000 sheets of galvanized. And other supplies. Then you had also clothing coming in and others like corned beef, non-perishable goods. And the downstairs at the back of the police station was an area where they were sorting clothes, and they became known as Bordeaux because that's the colloquial term when the volcano erupted, when Bordeaux. So you had people saying what Bordeaux they got from the government.
Oh, wow.
Bordeaux clothes and Bordeaux corned beef. And you even had some people who ate corned beef from morning till night and actually had to go to the bathroom because they overdid it, as usual. You'll always have a segment of persons who would, when a lot of things are around them, they kind of go a little bit mad and try to feel in, this control power. I can eat this, I can. Kind of situation. And
Mm-hmm.
churches, everybody just went in full force, just like we did here when it erupted. We
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of the young people, the entertainers and event planners and so on, and guides and everybody, all hands on deck to get this centers up and running and to volunteer and make sure that people have meals. And we doing it this time in a pandemic made it, I think, triply harder because you had to ensure that you take as many steps as possible to ensure that it doesn't spread during this particular time. And this is a deadly pandemic.
Right, 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 right.
In the
As you
meantime,
mentioned, mhm, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
but the political directorate felt that they couldn't make it work to do independence the same year because as time rolled on, April, May, June, July, and they said yes. Then the school children, again, learning the anthem because each generation you have to refresh and let them know a thing about the anthem, and
Mm-hmm.
had to prepare for the school children's rally, for the national church service, which was held at St. George's Cathedral. The program included a luncheon at Young Island for visiting officials, and then there was a huge garden party at the Botanical Gardens, and bars all over the Botanical Gardens and areas where you can go and get finger foods, and whosoever will may come.
So that was open to the entire country.
The- just walk in and take it. On the night before, there was a function at Government House, and then the people got ready to go to Victoria Park. The stage was the center, and for the ministers and so on. And then immediately in front of the stage were rows and rows of seats for visiting officials from from overseas, and specially invited guests, and so to sit on that ground in front of the stage. Then you had the flag raising, and it was memorable occasion for me because that was my birthday at midnight,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I felt so overwhelmed, I think it is, and the people just went up in a big shout, and it was a wonderful occasion. People felt renewed, refreshed, that there was a rebirth because you had just gone through the volcano, and it was perhaps a good political decision because it had benefited the party in power, which was the Labour Party. They had elections within by December.
Mm-hmm. You said that when the talk started, everybody was together. Did that change in time? Like some people decided to or started to change their minds from wanting independence as time progressed?
People changed their minds. Some people didn't want independence. They didn't think that we were ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That people needed more time. It was not the right time because there was the volcanic eruption. Others had more, as I said, intellectual differences of what the approaches should be. There was a difference in opinion in relation to, I think it was the appointment of the Governor General, or something like that. There was some issues in relation to certain provisions of the Constitution. And that caused a break with people who had been friends and colleagues for years. And they said, no, that's not the Constitution we should get something different. So it created that difference. But to the general populace, it was very, very popular. You couldn't tell people, um, let's stop this boat in mid-channel. There was nothing going to stop the boat in mid-channel.
Okay, that's good. What was independence like? Maybe from that first independence in 1979, maybe 10 years after that, was it the same level of excitement leading up to Independence Day?
very profound to read because um, at that time I would have been with SVG TV about 6, 7 years, and we had started doing outside broadcasts. I used to do the outside broadcast, and we would go to Victoria Park, put up the booth, sit and wait the police come down. And it was not a big parade. It was
Mm-hmm.
very perfunctory. There wasn't a atmosphere of celebration, you know, of national unity like we have now in these past decade and more, where people on that day, we are all Vincies, nothing else but Vincies. We're not Anglican, Catholics, ULP, NDP, whatever. We are all Vincy on that day. Because
Mm-hmm.
this is something that maybe in the early part of gaining independence, there wasn't a focus and a concentration on building a sense of national unity, a sense of national pride, and a sense of building a national identity. It was a political exercise. And now I think we have reached that stage where the little kids even look forward to wearing their national colors on that day. Do you ever look
Mm-hmm.
at them, Crystal? When the
Yeah.
little dresses, it's like the best day of their lives. Like when they come to church for the first time, they're wriggling the little shoulders. You see that? You see that in the
Yeah.
little t-shirts and so on. And and what has happened over the years too is the schools. Now the schools always did have a program of sorts, but it became bigger and bigger, and then the school children's rally became a bigger school children's rally. It has changed, of course, in substance and also in style. It has changed,
Mm-hmm.
and we have I think now, because you can't do the same thing, you'll always get the same result. You have to continue to build and transform and deepen, and you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
The some of the exhibitions that we have that some groups do during this time, and the years when we had the motorcycle club with the cyclists thundering into the city, and the kids look forward to that. And everybody, it's an occasion to celebrate and to be one, and look forward to that day, to the special menus. I see the hotels offer special menus, and of course, it's of interest to me. It's my birthday, so after the celebration at the park or wherever, I would always go to a toast, and then when I come home, these hotels are near to me. It was Camelot, and then now we have Grenadine House, and their menu always reflects the national food, national dishes, the way that they would prepare. They have what you're looking for on that day. I want to get some of my nice fried fish. I want to get my breadfruit, some pickled bananas, and
Mm.
sometimes they do not only the fried fish, but you can also get Creole fish. And sometimes when I forget to tell them to leave something to order for me, because then people gradually started going out to the hotels to go out to eat at lunchtime. You start
Right.
seeing that because I'll go from Grandin House, I go out to Mariners, go to different places and see, yeah. And now you
You really
have,
do enjoy your birthday, huh?
huh?
You really do enjoy your birthday.
Oh yes, I do. And years ago, I used to celebrate. Otherwise, I would have, decide let me throw something at home and so on. And gradually, I said, no, the toast is enough for me. And I like going to
Mhm.
Grenadine House and pick up my lunch or go to Mariners. Those are two places that I choose. Sorry to be prejudicial, but that's it.
I mean, it's what you like, and it's your big day. It's the country's big day as well. You mentioned schools, all right? You were former minister of culture. Did you have some influence on some of those changes that took part in the schools? Well, in terms of celebration of independence, or generally holding on to culture?
Well, the Ministry of Culture undertook the national independence celebrations, but it wasn't confined to the Ministry of Culture. It was um, interministerial. That is, you had representation from different ministries. And some ministries, like the Ministry of Education, of course, being a big
Right.
player, would have the school children program and say what that program involves. They will, I remember as a parliamentary representative, Burns Bonady and Godwin Tannis, they would have a PJO competition in Rose Place. And I always have to give my contribution to that. Sometimes the girls will say, well, we just want to do a cook up, but the guys will want, something a little harder than that. And they would have a competition. A couple times I got them their trophy. And so you will have things like that happening in different areas where people would have competitions just for the day. I remember when the guys at Lago Height would have football games and things of that nature. But through the Ministry of Culture, we did like the ordering of the buntings that you see. I think it was 2009, we had to order between 40 and 50,000 yards so that you could wrap all these poles, because we didn't want independence celebration to be Kingstown centric or capital centric, but to have it spread as far out as you possibly can go. And I remember one year we tried to reach as far as Argyle, because at the time the groundbreaking ceremony had taken place for the airport. And to there was a time to when a few of the stores would also light up, and a couple buildings would also have a few lights, but also put have their national colors up. And it is one thing I would like us to get back to. It is not the celebration of the political party in power; it's a celebration of the country, and it's time for us to get around to that. If you look around at other democracies, you would see that when the US is having 4th of July, it's 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Taiwan when they have their national days. The national day. Everybody has a day when you bury your political differences and your political, what I see now bordering on and hatred, which is not necessary. These things are transient. Come and men go. Leaders come, leaders will go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a transformation from decade to decade to decade and so on. Things will change, but your country is going to be St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So that should be the most important thing to you. What does my country look like? How does it feel? What do foreigners say when they come at Independence Time? And I used to quiz a couple of people that, would be coming from year to year, and ask them, well, what do you like about this year? And they say, oh, I see you have more flags. Oh, it looks so beautiful. And you have these pennants and those things. And it makes you feel, when you're driving, coming in from the airport, you feel a sense of welcome and warmth, that the country is joyous, and a joyous occasion. And
Mm-hmm.
I like when I see the children, especially being involved in the programs at October and in March for National Heroes. A couple of the primary schools have some wonderful programs.
Okay. You mentioned driving from the airport to maybe capital city Kingstown and being able to see a lot of things that would make you feel a sense of national pride. I know this year we are really experiencing COVID-19, so we are not able to have many of the things that we've had in the past year. For example, the children's program, the what would happen at Victoria Park. We're not having an independence parade. But outside of all of that, considering the fact that there are some things that still can be done, do you still feel that sort of excitement about independence this year?
It's a it's a subdued excitement,
Mm-hmm.
because what I would miss most of all is looking at the number of groups that used to come on parade. You
Mm-hmm.
had the Pathfinders, when the Pathfinders got some persons to do the choreography for their dance presentation. And when the Girl Guides did a formation in the 30 something. One year we had a British warship visiting, and I recall asking them about the flag, if they could do a flyover with the flag attached to the helicopter. And that was the year we had to do it at Richmond Hill, because the Victoria Park was in a state. and we had to do it at Richmond Hill, and they is it Richmond Hill? No, Annisville, and they did a flyover with the helicopter with the flag below it. That was really lovely, and the kids just roared. You see, to me, when you building, you must give people good memories and things that they can attach a sense of happiness and belonging to that particular occasion, and they would remember it. It's just like some people remember the first time they put on their guide uniform or their brown uniform.
Hmm.
And nothing in the world, you literally, I know that my mother said when I put on my brown uniform, the first time I literally slept in it. You know, it's the
Wow.
sort of, the sort of thing that happens to a child, and it's in this child's memory. And we have to build good memories because we want to build good citizens. Um, n- Life has two sides: a sad side and a happy side, a
Right.
rich side and a side that is a poorer side, and a good side that is a bad side. But we can't let ourselves be overwhelmed by negativity or overwhelmed by negative circumstances. We have to find a medium that makes us happy. And I think that is one of the days that can make you happy. Like Christmas will make kids happy because they know they will get a nice shiny little car and a special doll and a bag. Girls of the handbags. Every little
I
girl
see
want
where
to imitate
I see
mommy
where you're going
auntie
with that one.
granny. Hmm. Or teacher. Some little girls, everything is miss, miss, miss. And you can't
Mhm.
tell them anything about miss because they want to emulate miss.
Yes,
And
that is.
it's that feel you have to engender those kind of positive feelings in young people. So they will have good memory. I have beautiful memories of my childhood and um, the early years of independence and the role that I was fortunate, very fortunate and privileged to play in moving the law for the coat of arms, for the national flag, for the national anthem, and what it means. And sometimes when I see people publish the national anthem and they don't say lyrics by, music by, because
Mhm.
you must always give honor to whom honor is due. And that is a sense of honor, not only because it is what is correct and legally correct, because you're supposed to put that at the end of the anthem according to the law.
Right,
And
right, right.
it is also in the copyright legislation,
Hmm.
because anybody could always print it because it is for educational and national purposes.
Right.
So
Understand
those
where
things give me that sense of having done, if it's one thing, that was important. And when the AG had the mock-up for it, and we got the information from different sources where we source when you're doing the research and background before you draft legislation.
you.
And she also had some good input from senior counsel to make sure that we do things in the correct way. I also remember associated with independence is your flag raising at the United Nations subsequently in 1980. And I was very fortunate to be in New York for the flag raising at the United Nations. That was also a tear moment to
Really?
see,
Wow.
oh yeah, to see your flag among the
It re-
nations of the world. And your nation, you are a nation.
okay,
You're not a
it broke up a
colony
little bit. I don't know
anymore.
if
You're not an associated state anymore. You are a
Mhm.
nation.
That is true. That is true. A really momentous occasion indeed. And we have about 2 more minutes. And I would like to ask you at this point, considering COVID 19 and all of the restrictions, do you think that you would have done anything differently to try to inspire, give that good feeling to Vincentians at this time? Or what would
Your
you have
voice
done?
dropped a little there.
Sorry about that. Considering COVID 19 and all of the restrictions, could you give me one thing you would have done to sort of inspire or to give that feel good feeling to Vincentians, whether adults or children at this time?
I think when when we realized that you can't have gatherings because of the COVID situation, I think the church services were important because it helps you, for me, being in church helps you to reflect and to thank God that you didn't have your churches like the pictures we saw in Italy, where the caskets were just lined along the aisle of churches, that we
Mhm.
didn't get to that stage. And I think back to April when Times Square didn't have a soul on it, just two police cars. Trafalgar Square in London, nothing, just the parrot, the pigeons.
Mm.
That we didn't get to that stage here where we were absolutely locked away, totally locked away. We couldn't go anywhere. And I think for me that the prayers that were offered, and I think that the nation came to its knees because of Soufre. And this year, if we have never prayed more, I think that we are, in fact, you know, I have a Baptist friend. Let's say you are on mercy seat. You are on mercy seat.
Mhm.
This
Wow.
year, that's what's different. We're on mercy seat,
Hmm.
praying for
A
the
good time.
recovery from Soufre and
Mhm.
praying for the pandemic to lessen its grip and hold on our nation and our people.
All right, an interesting perspective there. All right, so at this time, I'm going to take a break. We have to head to a 10-minute segment with Digicel. When we come back, though, I'd like for us to talk about what is happening in Barbados and how that relates or connects to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in terms of they changing over to a republic. So, from a colony to a nation to a republic. And I know back in 2009, that would have been our story, but we're not there. We are not there. So, I want to talk about the future in relation to, well, and connect that to what is happening in Barbados when we come back. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let me just end this here on. All right, just throw up a couple things there. Good morning to Gail. Good morning to Kathy.